Canada's LNG ambitions were well within grasp. Japan, one of the world's largest LNG importers, was preparing to make Canada a main supplier. It appeared to be a done agreement until the United States stepped in. In an unexpected twist, the United States has taken a daring step by offering Japan a deal that might change everything. The balance is rapidly shifting, with the United States promising long-term benefits and political influence. The rivalry is very strong. What's the actual question? Can Canada solidify its position before the United States takes up the spotlight? This is not only an energy tale. It's a high-stakes geopolitical clash that might have long-term consequences for global alliances and trade. So, how did we arrive here? So what happens next? Let us break it down. Canada's effort to become a global LNG player began with lofty goals. The country holds some of the world's greatest natural gas deposits, primarily in British Columbia and Alberta. The objective was straightforward: export LNG to Asia, where demand is extremely strong, and establish Canada as a dependable supply for decades to come. The LNG Canada project, which was established in collaboration with global energy heavyweights such as Shell and Mitsubishi, was hailed as a great breakthrough. But why Japan? Japan is the world's second biggest LNG importer. Energy security is critical for Japan, which is highly reliant on imports to satisfy its requirements. Shipping from Canada is speedier and less expensive than from the Gulf Coast of the United States. Canada felt it had the ideal formula until the United States intervened and altered the equation. Japan's energy sector is not just large, it is also strategically important. Following the 2011 Fukushima tragedy, most nuclear reactors were shut down, requiring Japan to rely significantly on LNG to fill the gap. Despite efforts to diversify into renewables and restart nuclear reactors, LNG continues to be the cornerstone of Japan's energy mix. Here's why securing Japan as a long-term LNG purchaser is crucial. Japan's economy relies on steady energy imports to power its industry and cities. LNG offers Japan the flexibility and assurance that it requires to avert future energy crises. Global rivalry for LNG is intensifying as Europe and other nations race to secure supply. For any LNG exporter, securing Japan as a consumer is a fantastic opportunity. That is why the U.S. Canada rivalry for Japan's energy sector is so heated. Alberta, with its massive natural gas reserves, is essential to Canada's LNG ambitions. The province has been working hard to diversify its export markets and lessen dependency on the United States. Earlier this year, Alberta's government sent representatives to Tokyo to meet with leading Japanese energy corporations JERA and JOGMEC in an effort to win long-term supply contracts. However, Alberta's initiatives occurred at a time when the United States was making its own steps, resulting in a competitive and unpredictable environment. Alberta's pitch? A steady, long-term supply of LNG, supported by Canada's political stability and strict environmental standards. What's the challenge? Competing with the United States, which provides higher volumes and presumably more flexible terms. Alberta is keen to carve out a niche for itself, but competition is increasing. For years, Quebec opposed energy projects such as pipelines and LNG facilities. Environmental issues and political resistance have put projects like GNL, Quebec, on hold. But now, things are changing. Faced with rising U.S. competition and increased economic constraints, Quebec's government is revising its position on LNG infrastructure. This shift may completely alter the game for Canada's LNG strategy. Officials have hinted at resuming discussions on Energy East, a massive pipeline project that could deliver natural gas to eastern export ports. If Quebec approves additional LNG infrastructure, it might play an important role in Canada's aspirations to establish a presence in the global LNG market. The stakes are high. Quebec's choice may either strengthen Canada's position or make it vulnerable to U.S. domination. Just when Canada felt it had a competitive advantage, the United States countered with a game-changing LNG offer for Japan. During a high-profile meeting, U.S. officials guaranteed Japan a consistent supply of LNG from Alaska and the Gulf Coast, while also offering political and trade benefits. The United States positioned itself as a more stable partner, promising to supply Japan's rising energy demands through long-term contracts. U.S. officials offered a proposal to use the country's energy superiority to guarantee long-term commercial relations with Japan. The timing couldn't be worse for Canada, which was still negotiating its own agreements. With the United States aggressively pursuing market dominance, Canada's road has become significantly more difficult. Japan's energy plan is not limited to satisfying current requirements. It is about long-term survival. The country has learned the hard way that leaning too heavily on a single source can have negative consequences. Diversification is now at the core of its policy. Japan prioritizes securing different sources to prevent reliance hazards. Why it matters. Canada and the United States must now demonstrate that they can provide strategic value in addition to supply. Japan's balance between economic stability and energy security has never been more fragile. The United States is not merely promoting LNG. It is integrating energy into larger geopolitical power dynamics. The U.S. policy incorporates LNG transactions within a larger geopolitical framework, therefore improving both commercial and strategic cooperation with Japan. A larger image. LNG is part of a package to boost U.S.-Japan relations. Canada's task is to compete not only on energy, but across the political spectrum. The United States is playing chess, not checkers, forcing Canada to change its strategy in reaction to changing circumstances. Canada recognizes that its strength resides in sustainability. While the United States concentrates on quantity, Canada emphasizes quality, offering a cleaner, greener LNG option. The promise? Reduced emissions and more alignment with Japan's climate goals. The problem is to convince Japan that the long-term environmental advantages outweigh the short-term rewards. With the globe moving toward cleaner energy, this might be Canada's key to staying competitive. In a surprising turn of events, Alberta and Quebec, which have long been at odds over energy, are banding together. Both provinces recognize that collaboration is critical to securing a share of Japan's energy market. Alberta provides the resources. Quebec has infrastructural potential. They might form a strong new front in Canada's LNG aspirations. Japan is doing more than just analyzing contracts. It is also carefully combining economic security with geopolitical policy. Its decision will have long-term implications for economic agreements and national security policy, in addition to energy markets. Long-term energy contracts are critical to ensuring a consistent supply for the country's energy-intensive businesses. Meanwhile, regional concerns in Asia force Japan to emphasize stable alliances, particularly with countries that provide more than simply oil. While the U.S. package offers larger trade accords and political assurances, Canada's environmental commitment and technical innovation position it as a formidable candidate in Japan's diversification strategies. Environmental responsibility is no longer a secondary concern. It is important to Japan's decision-making process. Japanese corporations are under enormous pressure to satisfy severe environmental objectives. Net zero targets are motivating Japanese energy companies to explore greener alternatives, making Canada's low-carbon LNG plan more tempting. Carbon-neutral LNG might be a differentiator if Canada plays its cards well and positions itself as Asia's clean energy partner. Will Japan prioritize these long-term benefits, or will current security worries push them towards speedier options, such as U.S. LNG? At first appearance, Alberta and Quebec appear to be unified, an uncommon partnership between two governments with very divergent interests. Alberta needs export channels, and Quebec's infrastructure might be the answer. But tensions are building. Alberta's need to transit natural gas swiftly contrasts with Quebec's conservative approach to infrastructure investment. Environmental organizations in Quebec continue to oppose large-scale LNG projects, arguing that they might undermine the province's climate ambitions. If these gaps grow, Canada's ability to present a coherent approach to Japan may suffer, undermining its standing in the global contest. This U.S. Canada conflict is not occurring in a vacuum. It is taking place against the backdrop of broader global power movements. As China deepens connections with resource-rich states, Japan seeks to counteract those efforts with reliable partnerships. The Indo-Pacific strategy is essential here. Not only are the United States and Canada fighting for LNG contracts, but also for the position as Japan's primary strategic partner. Japan's LNG choice will signify its position in the larger geopolitical context. For Canada, obtaining this deal may cement its position as a significant participant in Asia's energy market and increase its influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Innovation might be Canada's trump card. While the United States has scale and political clout, Canada is discreetly exploring cutting-edge technology that might change the way LNG is produced and distributed. Carbon capture and storage (CCS) initiatives are already being implemented in LNG plants, lowering emissions and providing Canada an advantage in fulfilling Japan's climate commitments. Floating LNG terminals provide more flexible export alternatives, enabling Canada to reach markets sooner and at a lesser cost. If these improvements spread fast, Canada might become a leader in sustainable LNG, leaving competitors to catch up. Japan's eventual choice will include far more than energy. Both Canada and the United States have enticing proposals, but the winner will be the one that most matches with Japan's long-term security, stability, and sustainability objectives. So what do you think? Will Canada's renewable energy agenda succeed? Will U.S. power politics seal the deal? If you found this analysis useful, remember to subscribe and join us for additional information on the next major geopolitical upheaval. As usual, see you in the next video.